Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see you. I wish we were all in person, but next year. 2 years ago, our reunion committee met to plan our 45th reunion, hopefully in person. Roles were assigned to the various members of the committee: food and drink, music and entertainment, communication, social media, and Andover liaison, and a memorial tribute, which I got to head up. Geoff Richards, Harry, Flynn, and I meet about 3 or 4 times a year for lunch, a long lunch, or in the summertime, hopefully a sail up in Rockport. This is in addition to the reunion committee meetings and allows for a free exchange of ideas about Andover and any other topics that we might be interested in. At one of those gatherings, I said to Harry that of all our classmates, he was really the one to do the memorial tribute. And there would be a great way to honor our absent friends. Geoff echoed my remarks, and the seed was planted with Harry. He didn't promise anything, and he just went about his life. But the way we expected it, Harry came through in a big way. Over the year, COVID hit, shut down our country, and Andover canceled the 2020 reunions. We made an agreement with the class of '76 to have a joint reunion in 2021. And in January, I think it was January, the Andover canceled in-person reunions as well. So there we were. This Memorial Day, Harry published his video that you'll see shortly, and he sent it to many classmates. However, this is the first time that we will see the whole video as a class together, and I think it'll be moving. Nearly 30 classmates have passed since our graduation on that rainy day in 1975. Harry wanted to thank, and particularly Diz Bensley, who was his visual studies teacher at the time, for showing him what could be done with what they were then called as slide tapes. The technology has changed, obviously, but the concept is the same. And Harry, I think, captured the feeling of losing 30 classmates in his presentation.
So, what a privilege to just be in high school and singing with somebody as amazing as Tom Chapin. I mean, just blows my mind. And then another person that when I saw the YouTube video when it was shared, when I first came to Abbott in 10th grade, I was coming from Topeka, Kansas. I was horribly uncomfortable. I didn't understand New England culture at all. I felt completely like a fish out of water. And Holly Vickers, who was the last person on that video that was put together, she invited me to go to her home, which wasn't too far away, for a weekend. And I found in these letters I wrote to my parents at the time that I wrote about that. And even though she and I did not become like lifelong friends, that was like that first person reaching out to me. And it just made me incredibly sad to think that she's passed. Not that I've had any contact with her, but more just like she was that firsthand friendship. And that just really, made a difference in my sort of finally flowing into life at Andover.
Thank you. Frank, hands up.
Thanks. Sorry, was on mute. Just wanted to one or two small comments. One, Mike Canning was my roommate for a year. Well, he's just a great guy, very, very bright guy, hardworking, and he had the right amount of cynicism. He was never rough-edged or corrosive, but he could always see through that, a lot of the kind of pretensions and weirdness that went on in Andover. So I left with a really high opinion. He had a very distinguished career as a surgeon. He ended up in Miami, and SYA in Spain gave him that grounding in vernacular Spanish. Obviously, it's continental Spanish, not Caribbean or South American Spanish, but he really got his street cred that really allowed him to be a very effective medical practitioner in Miami and was being very well regarded community. So hats off to Mike. And one comment also about Lou Butler, was also a great guy in our one in Paul Revere South for 2 years. Lou, I think Lou was captain of the track team, or was he on the track team? Maybe on it for varsity for at least 2 years, but he might have been captain. But that's relevant to the story for this reason. As we get into senior year, of course, it's more and more habitual for people to sort of slip out of dorms and meet, drinking, whatever, social. And it just happens. The frequency picks up as you realize the Andover, the campus police are, you know, not always on the ball. So, but Quattlebaum gets fussed about this, or Dormouse gets fussed about it because he hear reports and there's sightings and somebody might get hurt. And he summons me to get involved with this because I'm cluster president or whatever. And so I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be on his side, and we're going to stop this. So I say, sure, Dr. Quattlebaum, let me see what I can do. Well, Lou's a good friend, and I know Lou is like the habitual. Lou is like every single night out doing God knows what. So I said, hey, Lou, you ought to at least be aware that people are getting fussed about this thing. Okay, so I don't know what that means. You know, do what you want to do, but people are, you know, Quattlebaum's getting antsy, people are getting fidgety. So just be aware that the background music here is getting sour. And he said, well, I'm not going to change anything. And I said, yeah, well, there's a risk. You know, we're now in our final month or two of school. You get caught, you get busted, you can't graduate, if they suspend you or they make you come back for some. I mean, there's a risk now, Lou. You're playing, you know, it might not be worth it. He said, there's no risk. There's no risk. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, I can outrun any one of those guys. One member of the campus police can catch me. So there's no risk at all. And he said, if they can do 2 miles, I can do 4. They can do 4, I can do 8. There's not a risk in this whole thing. So thanks for the advice. Appreciate the good wishes. And I'm slipping out of the dorm. So Lou was a cool guy. I thought that was the finest spirit of Andover. I think he got the message. So that's my comment. Thanks.
So who wants to raise their hand? Don't be shy. George.
I want to first thank Harry Flynn for the astonishing work he did in this. I got into an email correspondence with him after the first version was released a week or so ago. And I mentioned to him that unfortunately we were missing one of our classmates, Carl Kim, who was a dear and close friend of mine. Harry did an astonishingly thorough job of vetting these entries in the first version of this. Carl was not really in touch with Andover, so it fell to me to confirm that Carl Kim had died in the early days of the AIDS epidemic in 1986. A savage shock to me and his friends. You're 28, you think you're going to live forever. Carl was not out to his family. He was not out to his friends. It hurt me and his friends very much because he knew we had friends who were gay, no big deal, but he was just not out. And it was just not an Andover thing. He was a dear and close friend for all of college and all of the years left to him after college. But I wanted to thank Harry for providing a revised version that does include Carl. And I hope that some of you who remember this, remember him, will recall him fondly and include him in your thoughts. But again, thanks very much to Harry Flynn, who did a masterful, thorough job and really did a lot of due diligence and research in all of this and put together this remarkable 4-minute video with music. I can't be the only person on this call who's thinking, wait, he died?
Yeah.
Wait, she's gone? Her too? Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a shock because I
It's
think
incredible.
in all of our minds, we're still, oh, I don't know, 19-year-old idiots. but I guess, it does catch up with all of us. And in that regard, I'm so happy to see all of you people on this call, many of whom I know, many of whom I count as very close friends, and some of whom I haven't seen personally in years. But I'm very glad we got together for this call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie, you have to unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Okay, just a quick comment. I forgot to put that in the introduction. But Harry envisions this as being a video that can be added to. So for the next reunion, unfortunately, we'll have more names on it, but we'll still be able to capture that. And that he's worked with a technical person and he's willing to do that. So we'll see. But that would be nice to keep this going.
And the last person gets to watch it by himself.
That's right. And there's a shot, right, for them. Okay.
Those of you who attended the 40th reunion may recall that it was my job to read the names, and I did my best to hold it together, but I think we're really lucky to have a video like this, because we'll be able to have this record in, basically in perpetuity. So it would be way better for us to be meeting right now in person, like way, way, way better.
Yeah.
But at least we have this tribute to our lost friends. So I'm looking for more raised hands. Gotta be somebody. I wanted to actually call attention that I see Mary Jo's on the call. We haven't seen her in a long time. And Charles Miers has joined us. And I hope that many of you can observe Charles being inducted into the Andover Hall of Honor. That ceremony is at 7 o'clock today. Well done, Charles. Well deserved. And come on, don't be shy. We need some raised hands here.
I apologize because I joined late, but what are we raising hands for?
Oh,
Sorry.
to have any comments about the video or fond memories.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well,
we've got, and the reason that we're doing the hand raise thing is we've got 32 people on the call, and it's too many to sort of have a free for all. Although I could unmute everybody if you want.
Michael's hand is raised, Phil.
Michael,
Sorry. This is Michael's iPhone.
No, Mike Flemming.
Sorry. Hi, Mike.
oh, there you are.
I
Oh,
just thank Harry for doing that wonderful job. Artistically, it's beautiful. It felt right, and it's shocking to see how many people have passed. I had no idea that many of us had passed already.
It's sad and ironic. I get the list once a year from Princeton for my class, and the percentage is basically exactly the same.
Wow.
Hmm.
Anyway, thanks to hell.
And we did, by the way, try really hard to get Harry to join us tonight. As Mari and a few of you know, is a little bit of a hermit and comes out every now and again, and almost got him over the goal line. And at the last minute, kind of said, "You know what? You've got the film, and that's me." But he really did want to send regards on to the whole class from a deep and personal place, even though he couldn't be on the call with us tonight. So just wanted to pass that along.
And I know he appreciates sorry, there's an echo. I know Harry really appreciates all your thank yous. So keep on coming.
So if we don't have any more hands raised, what I thought we might do is, for those who
Hey,
are kind of new to these.
Kimberly,
I'm
Kimberly.
sorry? Oh, there you are. Oh, great. Go up, Kim Patton.
One, I just did want to offer, I've written in the class notes, but I wanted just to offer a personal tribute very, very quickly to Lizzie Grossman, who passed away of ovarian cancer at 60. Just a wonderful person, so thoughtful, beautiful musician and poet. We knew each other at Andover and got to be even better friends at Yale for my 1 year sojourn at Yale before I worked up enough centrifugal force to escape. Yeah, Lizzie was just beautiful and funny, and she had just such a wry sense of humor. She became an environmental writer, a journalist, very hard-hitting one. She lived on the West Coast, and some of her in-depth research pieces are still models in the field of environmental and epidemiological and public health issues. I saw her about 10 years ago. She came to Newburyport where I live, and we met, and yeah, I was very, very shocked. She died. I'll try to get through this one quickly without crying. Fern Jones was with us last reunion. I persuaded her that she should come, and I told her we would just go to the Abbott tea. We wouldn't go to anything else. And that's what got her up on the bus. There's so much to say about Fern, my oldest friend in the world. Met Cecily a little bit after that, who's with us also. Fern was a resident of Greensboro, North Carolina, and she came up to a whole new world with Abbott. I remember at the reunion her talking about what a shock it was for her as an African-American woman raised in the South to come up to a New England boarding school, and Sherman House and Mrs. Trenbath and Francesca Woodman, may she rest in peace, who died very, very young, the famous photographer. We actually went and found the tree at Sherman House where our class photo was taken. This was in our last reunion, and my daughter, who was with us, took a photo of us there. Fern went on to, she went to Yale. She gave Yale hell when she discovered that can everybody mute, please? Sorry, that's the professor. When she discovered that Yale was holding on to scholarship money and earning interest for a week before distributing it, took them to court. A lot of Fern's life has the notation, took them to court and won. She was very ferocious. She went on to be the first Black risk analyst Black female risk analyst at Morgan Stanley. She did brilliantly there. She went to the Sloan School at MIT. I took them to court too, different issue. Yeah, she then went on, as Tony knows, and Tony, you may want to say a few words, to found her own consulting company around environmental issues, and particularly clean water. Fern was extremely funny. I remember shopping with her for a button in Newburyport. We were looking at buttons in a kind of a novelty store, and she picked one out that said, "God's in a meeting, may I help you?" That really was her. She was deep, she was ferocious. She did not complain, yet suffered with extremely serious dyslexia and near blindness. The dyslexia she had all her life and overcame it anyway, as a brilliant thinker and businesswoman and advocate for social justice. The blindness was progressive, but she did sue the state of New York, and the day after she died, her special computer that she had won after years of fighting with them arrived. Fern did not die of a disease. She died tragically in an accident. She was on her way to see her mother on the night bus to Greensboro from her apartment in Greenwich Village. She was crossing the street, and she was killed by a garbage truck at 11:30 at night. An accident so horrific it made the news locally and elsewhere. All her organs, almost all of her organs, and some of her skin was donated. And her sister Ruthie went out of her way to say that at her memorial service. She had a memorial service at the Quaker Meeting House in New York City, the really old one where she had worshiped, as well as at the Episcopal Church. And it was an amazing service, a beautiful service, a coming together of people from every era of her life, really. Yeah, I miss her dearly. And since she was with us the last reunion, I just wanted to say what a blessing she was. Thank you.
I want to follow on to Kimberly's reflections and say I'm unhappy about two things. One, the COVID disaster cost us our 2020 reunion in person. And I mention this because I didn't know Fern Jones at all while at Andover, hadn't run into her at any previous reunions, but in 2015, I washed up in Andover for reunion, sat down at some party tent, struck up a conversation with Fern Jones. I think it's much easier for all of us to talk to each other now than it was 40, 50 years ago. She is amazingly easy to talk to, absolutely wonderful. And second thing I'm grumpy about, oh my goodness, she got hit by a car or a truck in a traffic accident, and I'm not going to get to see her again at the next reunion we hold in person. You know, sometimes really, if this is what it takes to encourage people to get to a reunion in person, strike up a conversation with somebody you never knew back in the day, might turn out okay.
Who'd like to go next?
Kim's got her hand up.
I think that's because she didn't take it down. There you go. So what we might do if folks are a little uncomfortable about sharing memories is maybe catch up with folks who haven't been on any of the Zooms, like where you are and how are you doing? You mind if I randomly call on a few of you?
Hey, Phil.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian Burke here, even though it says Brian's iPad, but for people that don't know me. I just wanted to say,
we recognize the accent.
Before we lose people in a little while, I just wanted to mention that that tonight, one of our classmates, the first classmate of ours, is being inducted into the Andover Athletic Hall of Honor. He's on the call right now. It's Charles Miers. And hopefully some of you will jump on that link. That ceremony starts at 7. And so, you know, I'm going to introduce him. That probably will be, I don't know, 7:20, 7:30. But I just wanted to congratulate in front of Charles's classmates the fact that he's the first one going into the Athletic Hall of Honor. If you remember, of course I don't, because and a lot of you may not remember Charles. You know, Charlie, as he was known at the time, came over from England, and he came over as a 13-year-old junior, and then he skipped his lower year. So when his upper year started, he was 14. And when his senior year started, he was 15. And he graduated at 16 and a half. So for all you classmates that are wondering, you know, why didn't I see Charlie over at the senior bar? Well, you know, he was a 15-and-a-half-year-old kid when he graduated, which makes it more amazing that his athletic accomplishments are now getting him into Andover's Hall. So I don't want to give away my whole speech, but maybe Charles, as he's known now, not Charlie anymore, he's grown up, but maybe Charles could just say something real quick, and I'm looking forward to introducing him. And if you do have a chance, I think, Phil, you might have sent out the link in the emails. If not, if you register, everybody's received 100 emails to register. There is somehow a way to get into the induction ceremony that begins at 7. But huge kudos to Charles Miers going into the Andover Athletic Hall of Honor. I'll mute now. Thank you.
So Charles, did you want to say a couple words?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. And the other magical thing is I'm only 29 now. But Brian, thank you so much. That's so sweet of you. This is an evening about people who are no longer here, or this is a meeting about people who are no longer here. And I have to say it brought a lot of tears to my eyes and made me feel, we should all spend our time as carefully and productively as we can. And it was just a deeply moving thing watching that video a few days ago when it came out. By all means, come to this ceremony. I know what my coach, the rather droll Steve Marks, would have said. He would have said some had greatness thrust upon them. And so I'm a bit humbled to be in the company of some of the people that are being honored, but one of the people is Hope Barnes, who you will remember was a year below us, was in fact my initial year at Andover, had an extraordinary life, and she too is no longer with us. She died in a mountain climbing accident. But you read her resume and it makes us all feel we should strive to do even more. So anyway, that's my piece for the moment, but thank you so much. And it's really great to be with you all.
Thank you, Charles. Tony.
Actually, thank you. I was raising my hand just to wave to Charles. But since I'm on, I want to follow on from what dear Kim just said, not only regarding the two classmates that she mentioned, Lizzie and Fern, who are just delicate, beautiful, kind, wonderful women. Yeah, I would love to hear, as you suggested earlier, Phil, from a few more of the classmates who aren't very often on these calls, such as Mark Mullen in California, Dan Cooper, I don't know where Dan is, and a few other folks who we haven't seen recently. That would just be fantastic if they would feel comfortable. And that's all for now.
Yeah, I agree. And Peter, as I think is new to the call. Mary Jo.
Hi, this is Dan Cooper. Tony, since you called me out, I'll jump on here, and I am in California as well, but who knows how much longer. There's an exodus going on. Wow, where do you start? I watched this too by myself, this film that Harry blessed us with. It took me a day to recover. I'm a physician, so walking people to the edge has been something I've done my whole life. But going to the edge with people that I really kind of came of age with and discovered the importance of life and really the powerful potential of life, which is really what Andover exposed me to. I'm sensing it again on this call because the articulate people, the pronounced accents, it all comes rushing back to when I first stepped on that campus and felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. What have I been missing? But just as we honor the dead, we go on living. And as a physician, this is something that really got me through all the time. And that is that something's starting for those blessed souls, something very magical. each one of them that I knew that, like you discovered something unique in. You wish you could continue to explore life with them. Many of us went our own ways, so we've been out of touch. I, in particular, haven't really spent much time with any of you, including Peter Kao, who lives down the street from me by total happen chance. We are busy in our lives, but these types of things that Harry passed to us of remembering, how precious life is, makes me want to get in touch more with folks. So thanks for letting me talk a little bit, and I'll shut up so other people can share what they're doing. I have been on one of these calls, and I shared that I'm in drug development, pharmaceutical drug development, and working hard on many things, including COVID therapies, and in the prior epidemic, the AIDS epidemic, HIV therapies. And I've spent my life more in that realm than in bedside medicine, which I spent the first half of my life with. And now I'm, just trying my best to aim towards retiring so that I can pick up travel and other things that I just haven't done. So that's enough about me.
So Dan, maybe you should pass the microphone to Peter, since he lives down the street from you.
Sure, Peter. And speaking of physicians and someone right in the epicenter of the COVID pandemic, Peter, would you mind trailing on my thoughts?
Well, thank you for welcoming me, all of you, to the Zoom. I watched Harry's video multiple times, and then I scoured the internet to read as much as I could about the lives of classmates who've passed on too young, too soon. And my oldest friend is on this call, George Letsu. We met as freshmen in Williams house. And I private chatted George to say how much I was moved by Harry's video, and he said the same thing, and that we have much to be grateful for. So, as with any funeral, it's an opportunity to gather the living, both to celebrate the lives and to celebrate each other. And I'm glad that we're doing that. Dan and I have crossed paths at Stanford, where we have both worked. I'm still working here as a pulmonary physician. I didn't work in the ICU, but COVID is an airborne virus. And so some of my emphasis has been on airway clearance. People can contact me by email if they want to talk more about that. But I think I'm glad to be welcomed back. And I think with every reunion, I've been to more of my college reunions, but you remember your classmates from when you knew them as 19, 20-year-olds or 13 to 17-year-olds at Andover. And at least with college, I've had a group of friends where it was easier to fill in the evolution of our lives with raising children and so on and so forth. But I have some catching up to do with my Andover classmates. And I think I will make the effort to attend the next reunion in person and fill in those stories and treasure the connections. So thank you for welcoming me.
Hey, Debbie Lewis, I think this might be your first Zoom with your old friends.
Second, actually, but no, it's rather late here in England. No, I was late coming to this meeting because I was off with Morris practice. We're just starting with the Morris team again, and meanwhile, back at the memorial video, that was absolutely amazing. It was a bit of a sucker punch to realize the individuals who had gone. That was difficult, but so beautifully done. I'm ever so grateful that it was done. So I thank you for that.
We're very lucky. I'm trying to think who else might want to update us with your thoughts and how you're doing and where you are. How about Frank Lavin? Oh no, you spoke. I'm sorry. Maybe, how about Phil Fletcher? We need to have another Phil on this call.
You can never have enough Phils. But As Peter was talking about Will Hall, I was thinking back on so many of those names. There were people that we met back in September of '71, was it? On long walks from Will Hall back up the hill. And a number of the people who featured in the film, unfortunately, were good friends from those days. And as we sit back and think about meeting everybody at that time, you know, there was potential. We were all trying to get to know each other. And little did we think that there were going to be people who became amazing musicians and ambassador doctors and pass away. And you could just think back on those first meetings of people and the words somebody said of potential that everybody had at that moment where we're all together. Now we've all gone so many different ways, so many different adventures. And to think that some of those people aren't with us anymore. I think of Alfie Hume, who just seemed like the most relaxed guy I'd ever met in my life. And to think that he's gone is just shocking. You know, we talked about Tom Chapin. It didn't take more than 2 weeks before we all realized that I was the most amazing musician we'd ever seen when he was playing the piano in various dorms. And, you know, we were very lucky to have spent all these years together. Unfortunately, I haven't seen many of you. I've been overseas. I'm a little bit like Debbie. I'm up late in London right now, but it's good to be getting back together and seeing so many good friends.
Thanks, Phil. Mary Jo, are you too shy to share with how you're doing, where you are?
Yeah, never too shy. So I am in Fairfield, Connecticut, and have been here for about 20 years. I am the Director of Regional Services for Yale New Haven Children's Hospital, which essentially is a lot of strategic planning. You can imagine the type of year that we had this last year, too, strategic planning in the middle of a pandemic. But what I'm struck by is I have two very grown daughters and a long marriage, but I also have three grandchildren, the oldest of which is almost 12. And they're mine biologically. So it's really interesting. It was not so much with my own kids that I looked at them and said, hey, at this age, I was doing this, or at that age, I was doing that. For some reason or other, my grandchildren, I look at that and I look at my oldest granddaughter and think, not too much longer before you're about Andover age. And to think that we, in our early to mid 60s, are sitting on a Zoom together is pretty remarkable when you think that the relationships began so long ago. So I think, you know, this Zoom environment, which a year and a half ago would have felt very stilted and crazy, right? I think we've all felt, even though in our own individual businesses, I think at times we're just totally zoomed out. But the good side now that this has brought to us from COVID is being in touch with people that, you know, we have not been in touch with for a very long time. So I'm happy to be a newbie in this group.
That's great to see you.
All is well. And I'm very lucky because I see my fellow Hoyas, Phil Fletcher and Frank Lavin, at our Georgetown reunions too. So nice to see you in this venue.
And for those of you who are trying to count how Mary Jo has 12-year-old kids, married Ford Smith, who was, I think she met her first day at Georgetown.
Yeah, not quite the first day, but you know, pretty soon. So anyway, yeah, we've been together for a very long time. So I'm very blessed.
So before we end the Zoom, I want to just mention a couple things. One thing of interest, I've been trying to look to see when the Andover Inn is going to reopen, because they closed for COVID. And my contact in the alumni office got back to me, despite the fact that their website basically says that they're closed indefinitely. You want to know why they're closed? It's a dorm. Yeah. That's a pretty damn nice dorm.
Yeah, that makes sense though. From social distancing, they probably had to get people apart.
With a bar downstairs.
Yeah. So seniors only.
Right.
No room service either.
And then the other thing, you know, at least the New England folks have been trying to get a kind of a mini reunion going. And obviously venues this summer and fall in New England, I mean, my inn is basically sold out, you know, as are most places, which is a wonderful problem to have. But I reached out to Andover to see if we might be able to rent the log cabin. And it's not available yet, but you know, if school's back to normal and they open up the bird sanctuary, we might be able to do like a BYOB type thing at the log cabin this fall. So that's in the works. Obviously, and I think most of you have heard about the trip to Paris that Tony's hosting in early October.
And we got a few New York, New Jersey events, Frank Skokan, so don't think you're safe for a minute there. We know where you are.
Phil Hueber.
Yeah, go Mike.
So for you or anybody else that has those alumni office connections, that people have mentioned in-person reunions at Andover, what's the possible or likely or potential next time we would be able to get together on campus?
Well, you can always crash a reunion. And so it's, you know, what's it going to be? It's going to be 2022 next year. So we're sort of like 2 years out. I don't know whether we would be formally invited to join, but I've had in the back of my mind that maybe we just do our usual thing and don't even ask permission and rent a tent and show up.
I think, Mike, to answer your question specifically, I think some of us were hoping that the volunteer weekend in September would happen. I think it's probably not going to. But to answer your question, I think November Andover Exeter weekend is looking slightly better, not definite yet and not announced, but in terms of putting a date in the calendar to actually get back on campus, that's probably our first date in later on in the year.
You know, the other thing that's a little, I don't know if ironic is quite the right word, but our inn, the Chesterfield Inn, we're very close to Northfield Mount Herman. And they actually held their in-person reunion last weekend. And we had a big group actually having dinner here on Saturday. So there are places that think they can reopen. I mean, Northfield Mount Herman is much smaller, but that also means it's a smaller campus as well. But I thought that was kind of interesting that they were able to pull off their reunion. So before we...
Phil, Frank Skokan. Hi, everybody.
Hey,
I just
Frank.
wanted to say, I also would like to thank you and Geoff Richards and Kurt Silverman and whoever else I'm forgetting, just to kind of being the glue of getting us back together or keeping us together. And over the years, and I certainly look forward to those emails where I hear there's a Zoom, something's happening. Sorry I missed the last few, but you know, glad to join in on this bittersweet occasion, but thank you very much.
Anyways, really wonderful to see everybody and to hear from so many. And, you know, we're certainly lucky for the years that we had at Andover. And I think that we're even luckier to be able to be reconnecting. It's helped this fucking COVID, that's for sure.
And let's get together again soon. It's fabulous to see you all.
Thank you, Tony.
Good night, Tony.
Love
Thank
to
you
all.
Good night, all.
Take good care. Good night.
Bye, everybody.